Hello and welcome to another day in paradise and welcome to another edition of the Unapologetic Negropian. In today's live video, we are going to be hopefully talking to an African American family who has moved to the UK. And I say the words hopefully because I haven't spoken to him today, but I know he's a very busy man, and he said that he'd be available now. So I'm hoping that it'll come online now. So why am I speaking to this African American couple? Well, it's because they have bucked the trend and have decided to move to England of all places, And I know this kind of came to a surprise to a lot of people, and I posted something in my community page, and like everybody was a lot of comments on there. A lot of people had a lot of comments, a lot of questions, asking the reasons why, And it's it's a weird question. What I wanted to do is I want this gentleman to speak for himself and give us his reasons as to why um, he chose to do something which many people think is essentially jumping out of the frying pan and back into the fire, and they don't understand. A lot of people don't understand um, what the situation that you get into once you move to a certain country where your specific ethnicity is seen as in a very positive light. Hello, Michelle Thomas, anyway, and hello, KS. Not a lot of people here, and I'm kind of like that because this gentleman, I'm going to check if he hasn't emailed me yet, but I'm hoping that he'll come in. And Michelle Thomas, you said you're interested in moving to England one day, and we'll watch it. And that's really good. That's really good because, you know, as a person that has lived in the UK for the majority of my life, I can tell you it's a lovely country to live in, especially for a family, especially for a family, because it is. I just think the UK has the perfect mix of socialism and capitalism. It has the system set up. Stay away from our lands. Hi, what's tonight's topic, please? In today's video, stay away from our lands. We are going to be talking to. Hopefully, we're going to be having an interview with an African American family who moved to England last year, and they've been enjoying themselves. They've really been enjoying themselves, and I wanted to speak with them because they've moved to the same city, the same location where I was born and raised. KS, is it racist though, but a bit more tolerant? We have to be careful here because how can I explain this? It is, of course, because it's in Western Europe and it's filled with there is degenerates inside that country, but it is not more tolerant. It's a lot less tolerant towards racism. Let's just say that. Sorry, no, it is. It is more tolerant. Towards us? Should we go and live in a place which is tolerant towards us? Oh, we tolerate you. That doesn't sound good to me. I would never move to a place where people would tolerate me. People would tolerate my children. They would tolerate my existence. They'd tolerate, me being in the same building or wherever with them. I would never move to a place like that. I'd move to a place where my children are celebrated, where my kin are celebrated. And this is a problem a lot of African Americans who haven't moved out the United States. They don't understand the nuances of and their power. They don't understand their own power being African Americans, their own ethnicity brings, you know. So um, this gentleman who's moved to the UK, I haven't asked him this yet, but I wanted him to say it at Raw. I haven't even spoken to him like, you know, face to face or over the phone or anything like that. I wanted to specifically ask him how his ethnicity. Oh, he's here. Brilliant. So he's going to come on now, ladies and gentlemen. It's good to see him. Add to the screen.
Okay, can you hear me?
I can hear you loud and clear. How are you?
I'm doing well. I'm sorry it took a minute for us to get logged in here.
No, that's fantastic. I'm happy to see. This is your first time on StreamYard.
Yes, first time using it. Never used it before.
Wow. Okay. Fantastic. Fantastic. And thanks for being here. I was just talking about you. I don't know if you heard the conversation I was just having with these guys.
No, I didn't hear. We were trying to get logged in. What were you guys saying so far?
Oh, wow. We were speaking about, about you guys bucking the trend, moving to the UK when everybody's talking about Pan-Africanism. Everyone's talking about Pan-Africanism. Sorry, that's my thoughts. If you just heard everyone's talking about Pan-Africanism and everyone's talking about going back to the motherland, going back to Africa, more notably Ghana. Let's face it, everyone is moving to Ghana at this present moment. It's the go-to place. Here there is a large, young, vibrant expat community there, and it just seems to be everyone's making a beeline to go to this country and to see your beautiful family that you have brought to the UK from. I don't know much about you. I haven't done any research about you, so I wanted to hear it from you raw, so people didn't make the assumption that I was that I had coached you into saying certain
All right.
things.
Yeah, I understand that. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So, let me ask you this question first. Whose idea was it to move to the UK? Was it you? Was it your wife?
So it really was a joint decision, I think, between both of us, where we've been working specifically like in the DC area, in Washington DC in the States for about 17 years. And I kind of started working in DC after college, and my wife, she did as well. So we work in high tech, like tech jobs and stuff. And we looked around and we realized we really wanted to do something different. We wanted to give our children like a different experience, a different exposure to the world. Like one of the main things we kind of looked at was that I have three sons, right? So three black boys, one black daughter. And we didn't want our kids to grow up only knowing the American perception of what it means to be black and what it means to, exist in this world. So we wanted to do
Mm.
something different. And so to kind of get into the rest of it, we said, hey, let's go somewhere else. So we started applying to jobs at different places, literally all across the globe: Indonesia, Japan, Germany, and of course, Africa. We applied to jobs in like Mali, Rwanda, and other places where we saw where we had a skill set that matched up. And we didn't get those offers that came through. We had a couple that came through, and like those were like Germany and the UK. And so we had opportunity to look at Germany, had opportunity to look at UK. And where we live at in DC, before we moved, we had a farm. We had cows, pigs,
Ah.
chickens, the whole thing. So we had a 16-acre farm. And where we live in the UK is very similar. We felt like that would be the least disruptive, like to our children, to move into an environment that was similar to the environment that they'd already kind of knew before we moved.
Okay. Well, that's a strange mix. So you was a farm. You lived on farmland, or did you actually farm the land?
We
Very
did. So
strange.
it was, yeah, we did. We had our jobs, and in our free time, we farmed. In our free time, we raised
Okay.
chickens, and we sold, and we raised, and we sold cattle. I grew up on a farm down in Arkansas in the States. And so I was familiar with that lifestyle, and we wanted some space, and we bought a place down outside of the city. And that's kind of what we did. It was it was different. You don't have a lot of Black people who are into farming. There's more now than I think there used to be, but we really kind of jumped into the lifestyle and we enjoyed it. So we live on a farm now in the UK. It's not ours. We're renting there, but we enjoy it. And so we're out there with sheep having a good time.
Lovely, lovely. And so you have livestock there. Wow.
Yes.
Do you have to shear the sheep and do that
Yeah.
kind of thing?
Yeah, we missed it. We may get a chance next year to shear the sheep. We're just learning about sheep. We're mostly cattle people, so we're learning about sheep now. We'll be shearing them hopefully the next go round.
Okay, fantastic. And sorry, your wife. I haven't introduced myself to her. Hello, and I'm sorry I haven't spoken to you yet. But all the kids are in bed, I'm assuming.
Yeah, it's a pleasure to meet you.
Thank you. Did you meet each other in Arkansas?
No.
No, we actually met. It's okay. So I'm gonna be honest. I'm gonna tell you the true story here. What happened? There was a guy. He was a friend of mine, and he came to me. He said, "Hey, there's this girl. She's really pretty, and I want you to meet her, and because I really like her." And
yeah.
So and it wasn't as bad, but she, when I met Blair, I went down. I was like, okay, great. And so I went on by my business. But over time, actually, Blair and I kind of end up talking and so forth. So guys, if you're listening, don't take another guy with you to meet a lady that you like. I'm sorry, but
he is happily married now. So
that's good. Yeah, that's something. I'm sure he's happy for you as well now.
Yes.
It might not have worked out. There you go. So listen, you checked other European countries. You even checked some African countries, and you chose one which was favorable to you. I know that in Germany, if you work in the tech industry, your citizenship gets expedited, right? You move to the front of the queue, so to speak. They are looking for people that way. And is there any African countries that are doing something similar? I know that there are places, certain areas and districts in Nigeria and in Ghana where they are building sort of these tech villages, sort of like Silicon Valley, their own little versions of Silicon Valley. Were you looking in those areas, or was you just looking at big, like multi conglomerates?
We were mostly looking at the big, multinational conglomerates. So the U.S. Has so many major corporations, especially if you have like tech skills. But we have major corporations and a lot of them are, globally, and the trend is not just people moving to Africa. The tech sphere is also moving to Africa. They recognize how much availability there is there. They recognize that, going forward in the next 20, 30 years, the population shifts that are going to change, where Africa's population is going to continue to grow. They recognize that going forward, Africa is and will become much more of a dominant player on the world stage, right? 54 nations, the African Union is going to have more power. So a lot of tech companies are trying to get in now to get in ahead of that big wave that they see coming. When you look at the ages and the demographics in Africa. So we did consider all of those things and we looked at it. But, within our timeline, the UK opened up. And it really, we actually, to kind of get into it, we like the UK. I am into farming. I like gardening. I like some things that most everyone may not care for. And a lot of the things that I like are quite abundant in the UK. I'm waiting to go to Chelsea. I want to do that. The Chelsea Garden Show. I've been looking forward to that for years. And so
I thought you was going to say the Chelsea Football Club. I was like, no,
no,
don't do that, man.
no, the other the garden show. And so
Okay, brilliant.
we're a little different. We're a little different. And so a lot of things in the UK are kind of things that we were looking forward to experiencing. But we are still looking at potentially, at some point shifting the family to the African continent if we can get the right setup there. We're still applying to jobs, but right now we're really happy. We're really happy with where we are. We really like it.
There are a lot of people who make the assumption, and this is what I was saying actually just before you jumped on, to make the assumption, oh, England, out of the frying pan into the fire, out of America and into England, another racist place, and then this, that, and the other. And what a lot of people from a lot of African Americans specifically who've moved out of the United States fail to understand is the privilege that they have being African American. They just believe that black people, that we're just one, monogam, like one race. There is just one people, and that we are all treated exactly the same. And what a lot of African Americans don't understand is when you move to a place, especially like a place like the UK or just anywhere in Western Europe, you were seen in a different light than most other ethnicities of African ethnicities, right? So you would be treated differently to me, being a UK guy, just I'm from England, I've got a Birmingham accent, I was brought up in the Midlands myself. I was born there actually, so you would be treated differently. You'd be treated with a lot more, I don't know, prestige, because you're an African American. You're not. You're a very niche, very unique person. People look at you in a different light, and a lot of people don't understand. They just think, oh well, you're just going to be treated like everybody else. And that's what I'm trying to teach a lot of people, that it's not necessarily the same everywhere you go, where there are Europeans living. You don't just go, there's no one blanket rule for everybody. And it's difficult to teach people that until they move out. And you've moved to, sorry, I don't want to be specific, but you've moved to the Midlands yourself, right?
Yes. So we've moved to the Midlands, and I think I understand what you're saying. And so when we go out and we meet people and we're talking to people, and the first thing that they always say is they don't say, "Hey, oh, you're black." They say, "Oh, your accent. Are you American?" And I was like, "Yeah, we're American." And so that kind of I can tell that carries over. I think the American accent is something that a lot of British, because maybe watching television and so forth and so on, are familiar with. And I think that that may absolutely have some effect on the way we're treated. We and as far as how we're treated, how we have been treated, I can't tell you. So I'm looking at the news all the time, but I can't tell you where I have had a personal experience where I can say this British person treated me in any manner that I can claim as racist or outright feeling as though, they've done things towards me or against me for reasons based on the color of my skin. I can honestly say that I have not had that experience. My wife, I can't speak for you, but
Yeah.
We haven't had any of those experiences.
There are people who are watching this, and they're leaving messages, and some of them saying, speak the truth, and what they're saying, we need a more balanced view. So listen, guys, of course there is racism there. This is the UK. It was the number one colonial country, on the planet, and they used sort of not white privilege, but white superiority to sort of force themselves on everybody else. Everything was manifest destiny. Anything outside they could touch, where there were people there that were darker than them, they'd just be like, oh, okay. So of course it exists, but I'm just saying that it's not the same as in the United States. You know, it's different. Okay, and while a lot of you, I can appreciate a lot of people they're just no, I'm sick, don't want it anymore. That's it. I'm one of those people, by the way. I'm one of those people. I'm like, no. I I I really, I mean, up until 2000 and up until Brexit, actually, up until they started talking about Brexit, I loved the UK. I really did. I enjoyed living there. I enjoyed making money, and I enjoyed having my passport where I could just go anywhere and live and work within the European Union. It was kind of back home whenever I felt like it. I loved it. I felt like we were, and I know this is going to sound a little bit nationalistic, but I just felt like we were the best country in the whole of the EU. I just thought there's nothing else better than us out there, you know. Um, but after Brexit, I just saw this where the UK was going, right? And I, I don't want to be negative about it, but I'm just trying to give these guys an overall picture of the state of the way things are in the UK. So you've got a lot of people in the UK who are looking for power. You got a lot of power mongers there, and they are using COVID and I shouldn't have mentioned that word. They're using that and also Brexit and this Brexit process to try and consolidate their own power. So it's a dodgy situation over there, but you seem to be really enjoying it. I mean, there are clearly a lot of benefits to being in the UK as opposed to the United States of America. Could you give me sort of your top three benefits, the top three things that you say are much better than America in the UK than, you know,
Okay,
top three?
so yeah, top three. What would you say?
Um,
So a one that I can definitely think of, and this is after living in DC, driving 55 miles one way through very heavy traffic, living in the Midlands, one way in the morning, 55 miles to work, 55 miles back home around the DC Beltway. Was the interstate there. So very heavy traffic, almost 2 hours every day in each direction. Living in the Midlands, working where we work there. Our commute now is 15, 20 minutes. So that is occasional. I realize you can move in the US and get something similar to that. We also, of course, the medical system, the way it's set up with the NHS is very different than what you would experience in the United States. Um, I definitely like to think about the NHS as one. And I had to let me think on it a little more about the other one. But to go back to that other
Yeah.
point that you made about racism, I don't want people to take this as, I'm giving a wholehearted 100% endorsement to the UK to say, no, there's no racism in Britain. That's not what I'm saying. I mean, I saw just like a lot of people saw when when Britain lost the Euro 2020, and the reply and the response to those black football players who had missed those penalty shots, and there was some racism associated with that, but also witnessed also immediately where the PM and other key leaders came out immediately and condemned that. So I'm not trying to say and put a gloss over it. What I am specifically addressing is I can't speak to everyone's experience, and being raised there, you can probably see some things a little clearer than I can. I can only speak to my experience coming from having grown up in the American South, right? So I grew up in Arkansas. That's in the deep South. I grew up in the deep South. I went to school and college in Louisiana, and I have some experiences that I've had with police officers and with white people in America and in the workplace. So, I have those experiences. I think just about every black man in America probably has some flavor of experiences that they can talk about. What I can specifically talk about related to that, I haven't had those type of experiences or anything near those type of experiences, and neither has my family had those experiences while we have lived almost right at a year in England. And that's what I'm saying, is that I believe you can actually move there and still have a good life. And I know that a lot of people, may think differently, but hey, it's working for me. I can't speak for what it'll do for you, but I can say that for us, we're having a good time. We also go our way to try to make sure that we are, we're fitting in the sense of learning the differences in the language. Sneakers and trainers, there's some difference in words and things of that sort. And so and also, just try to focus on the small things, focus on the things that are good, because if you focus on the things that are bad, you won't be happy anywhere. That's just kind of
I mean, a lot of British people, and as somebody who is born and raised in the UK, we see our NHS as the crown jewel in our crown. Really, it's the number one thing that when we're brought up, when we're young, up until the day we pass away, it's that one entity, that one bit of Britishness that takes care of us. No questions asked. It takes care actually of everyone. No questions asked, and I love that about it. I love that the fact that they and the current government don't like that. They don't want that. They want to milk it. They want to milk people a bit more, so they want to make sure people start paying out so that their friends, um, a lot of nepotism going on inside the government at this moment. So they want their friends to make a killing on things from the NHS, and they've already started the process of just taking little bits of the NHS and they're trying to privatize it. And I don't think I think they'll be out before they get to fully privatize the NHS. But I was born in an NHS hospital. The Queen, the current Queen of England, was born in an NHS. No, was she? No, she was born before the NHS. But all of her children were born in NHS hospitals, and all of their children's children were born in NHS hospitals. They were all born in NHS hospitals. All the government officials, you get government officials in a lot of African countries who wouldn't even consider taking healthcare in their own country. They even in South Africa, in a developed country like South Africa, they go to Europe to get their heart surgeries or whatever. But the government officials in the UK have to use the NHS. It's the NHS. They can't go private in their hospitals. Because what would that make it look like? It would make it look like they were failing to regulate their own health system if they didn't trust it themselves. You understand? So there is a beauty behind the way that, that the British government has created this something that we're proud of as British people, that we walk around the world saying, "Oh, what, you pay health insurance?" It's that sort of thing. You know, I didn't even know health insurance existed until I lived in the. I didn't have it in America, but I lived in America for a while, and then I lived in the Netherlands. Everybody paid health insurance. It's not very expensive, but they still pay it. And up until that time, which I started living in the Netherlands, I was like, I had never paid for any health care at all. It was, I'd always had something, you know, it was always free for me. So, um, I, definitely a big bonus, really, for a lot of people. And there are a lot of Americans actually who are now moving to France and they're moving to the UK to take advantage of those systems. And I'm not talking about Americans that look like you. I'm talking about European Americans who are moving to. I didn't know that France had a similar system, but yeah, they're moving to France and they're moving to the UK. Some of them have cancer. So, some of
Yeah,
them have these diseases, and you you're going to bankrupt yourself getting yourself sorted in America. And a lot of insurance companies in America go out of their way to try and make sure they don't need to pay you, which is just evil. It's really evil. So it's one thing that I like about one really big thing that I like about the UK.
Yeah,
And
yeah, I agree with you, especially if you have say a chronic illness or a chronic ailment. I could see that, you know, really breaking the bank. We had our son, just a quick example. Our son had a block fall on his foot. He was outside playing. He broke his toe, and so we took him to the local hospital there, and it's very different because when you go into the U.S. hospital, you're going in with your IDs and your insurance cards, right? And you have to have that available from the moment you walk through the door, so they could know where to bill you, and based on, you know, what type of insurance you have and so forth. So going into the NHS system, you go in, you give your NHS number, and the care is just provided. The follow-ups are scheduled, everything is scheduled, and you don't come out with a bill on the other side. So yes, I think the NHS is really one of those things that UK does in its current form, like exceedingly well.
Yeah, just to let, I mean, someone's just written here, with all the wealth amassed from the centuries of the UK colonizing all these countries, of course they can pay over $1 billion a week. I think over $1 billion a week that costs to run the NHS itself. So that is true. I mean, of course, you know, another thing the UK does, which I like, is that NHS card. Let's say I go abroad and something happens to me whilst I'm abroad. I mean, once again, if worse comes to worse, I'll have to pay out. But when I get back to the UK will pay me back. It's really like that. So it's good, right? But I understand where it has come from. You know, I'm not totally ignorant to the fact that, me being British Jamaican, you know, a lot of the wealth that was amassed came from my island. A lot of the banks there, like Lloyd's Bank, wouldn't even exist without the plantations in Jamaica, the sugar plantations, as they made most of their money in the sugar industry and then in the insurance industry. So, guys, it's not like I understand that, you know, I understand the UK's history, but I think it's important that we not only take advantage of it now, but we also start working on getting to a point in which we can ask for some reparations. So that's ramping up over in the UK. What about over in the States? I mean, have you been keeping an eye on reparations in the States, and how, you know, are you for that, or do you think we should just get up?
I don't know that, you know, the reparation question is so hard. How do you go back and quantify who would qualify for that? I think that the U.S., you know, has definitely not fully acknowledged the role that, you know, the founding of the nation, as far as on the backbones of so many African Americans and people who were brought over and enslaved for generations, and what that did to help build and propel the nation forward. I don't know if that has ever been fully accepted in the United States. And I think that you should get to a full acceptance of the role of the history of the Blacks, who have supported the nation, supported the development of the nation, you know, from generations. I think you have to get to that acceptance first, right? So we need to get to that acceptance point. And then how do you go about, you know, issuing out reparations? 40 acres and a mule, they gave that, then they took it away. So there's a lot of examples where, you know, one step forward, two steps back, but I'm not sure exactly how the United States would ever implement it. I'm not saying I'm not for it. I'm not saying I don't think it shouldn't happen. I just, you know, I do wonder, how would you do it? How would you go about doing it? How will you make reparations? How can you make reparations for the lives that were taken, and the history that was stolen? You know, even now in the United States, we're relearning our history. We're relearning the role of our ancestors. You know, there's examples of things. Mac and cheese, right? Macaroni and cheese was brought to the United States from a Black slave, right? So, and there's so many things in our history that have kind of been whitewashed and erased. We need to continue to dig through that and acknowledge the full role that African Americans have had in shaping the United States from its inception up until today. And then we can layer reparations on top of that. I don't know in what form, but I think that that should be acknowledged. It's
Yeah,
just,
I did have a live session before, and we had a few of the ADOS movement members who came on who were pretty adamant that they wanted cash and they wanted to be able to spend it the way they wanted to. It didn't sound like it had been really thought through very vigorously by those people. And right now, there's a few cases where, you know, they won, groups of people have won reparations. One of those is the Jews, of course, after World War II, who are still getting paid today, right now. Whole families getting paid lots of money from the German government and from the United States government. I don't know why they're getting paid from the United States government. They're getting paid from them, and they're also, you have the Himba. There's two tribes in Namibia who have just been won reparations from the German government, and they rejected them. By the way, they got offered. I can't remember how much they got offered, but they rejected the offer because it just wasn't even close to being enough. Not if they would have tripled it, it wouldn't have been enough. So there is a framework there. There are people who are going for it. My island, Jamaica, of course, it's a little easier to do things because it's a smaller group of people, and it's quite undeveloped, so that there is a lot of room for building a lot more infrastructure around the island, train lines, more harbours, more ports, another airport, you know, a better airport, and building airline, transportation systems, industries. They could focus on that, and it wouldn't cost trillions and trillions and trillions. So I can understand that. I mean, I can't even. I'm glad it's not my job to do it anyway. But
yeah, you know, I would think, I'm sorry, I would think that if you start talking about reparations, you know, if you're talking about just cash, think about it like this. Let's say reparations comes in the form of money and you're allowed to go and spend it how you want. You're going to go to the store and you're going to buy something. It's going to belong to Nike. It's going to belong to Apple. It's going to belong to the major corporations. And so then the reparations will come into black hands and immediately turn around and go right back to whence it came, right? So reparations would have to be a deeper thought about if you're going to do it. Like, so focus in on supporting Black initiatives, supporting Black business, supporting Black ownership, supporting Black colleges and universities. I would see that as areas where you could pour in reparations that would have a lasting effect. Just giving people money and then allowing them to go and spend that money, you're just going to turn around and put that money right back into the banks and right back into the hands of the people who own the wealth in the first place.
precisely. I tried to tell them that, actually. I got a lot of angry messages back, but it doesn't matter to me. You know, I mean, clearly, it's not our decision anyway. It's not my decision, and to most people as well, it won't be their decision either. And I'm sure somebody at the top will make the smart decision that will build wealth that we can pass on to our children and our children's children and their children too. So, you know, I'm just hoping things go well over there. And I've had a few people who have got a few questions actually that they're throwing at me. They want to know, um, uh, okay, so you considered moving to Africa. What was the countries and why didn't you, I mean, you know, what made you say no to Africa? Clearly just said, you know, I'm going to do Europe instead. Was it the career stuff, or was there other reasons?
So the countries, so you applied to, what was it?
Mali, Burundi, Rwanda.
Mali.
Yeah. Yeah. And so those, it wasn't so much as a no to Africa. It was a timeline that we had decided that we wanted to try to move in. and the European jobs opened up and within the right timeline. Of course, this is all leading into COVID and everything else, but it was an issue of timeline. It was not an issue of I'm gonna be honest with you. My wife, she applied to the job in Rwanda. It was like the first one, and of course, the only thing I knew about Rwanda at the time, just being honest, was the movie Hotel Rwanda and the genocide. And then so we got on the YouTube and we started looking at it, and we saw Walter Maya in Rwanda showing Kigali, and that was what really started to open our minds up to, like, whoa, what we have been shown of Africa is not what Africa really is. And so over the last couple of years, we've been learning more and more and more. And, of course, Walter Maya and others now are showing what's going on the continent. And it is not what has been, historically depicted. It is so much better than what has been shown. And yeah, we're very excited about that. Although we're not there, we're very excited about it still.
Yeah. And Rwanda, I watched Walter Maya's videos on Rwanda, and they were nice. They were more focused on the people, but I watched other videos afterwards. I had there are people called overlanders who travel there by car, and the videos that they brought out about Rwanda, it is way better than what you see on your screens. I have underestimated. I've never been there before, but after I saw those videos, I was like, wow, because what they've done with this country, clearly, once again, I made a video about how they are paying for it and how they are paying for the infrastructure to be built inside this country. It's still a poor country relatively, but they are the world's #1 exporter of coltan, and it's a tiny country, but there is a lot of coltan next door in where is it? In the DRC. So what they have been doing is they've been naughty. I'm not going to go into detail, but they have been rather naughty, and this is how they are funding it. And a lot of countries are sort of turning a blind eye to them. So this is the thing. There is a lot of countries, even countries like the United States of America, who have clearly violated so many other countries, used them, abused them, destroyed them in some cases in order to gain their natural resources and other reasons, political reasons as well. Each country has its downfall in that sort of sense, and you chose the UK, which also has a terrible past when it comes to human rights and colonialism. Even though they are doing their best to distance themselves from the empire where the sun never sets type thing. You never hear people saying that thing anymore. They're trying to do their best to distance themselves from it, but I don't see any problem in people going over there and just reaping the rewards that a lot of English people and even people that have moved to the UK are now enjoying. That's not a problem with me. Clearly, you guys are enjoying those benefits right now yourselves.
Yes, we are. We've been able to been fortunate to travel. Been to your home city. We didn't even know it was there, so to speak, and we were really shocked. Like, wow, this is a really nice city. Went over to Liverpool and had a great time there. We've traveled up to Edinburgh in Scotland. We passed through Doncaster, and so we've been just kind of getting out and really realizing that there's a lot to see. There's a lot to do in the UK. I listened to your speak now, and you're very focused on a lot of these deep issues, and I agree with you. I'm not unaware of these issues. I am aware of the history. I'm aware of the legacy, but at the same time, I'm looking at, I have 4 young kids, right? And my goal is just trying to show them differences in the world, like different experiences, different places, just different thoughts. You know, coming up in the UK, they're going to come up in the UK as long as we can stay there, and they're not going to have the same experiences as a lot of the, there's their American counterparts who are going to be, growing up black or white, growing up in the States. My kids have spent time in London, right? So they've been to Liverpool, they've been to Scotland. We're going to continue to travel. My wife and I, Blair, we have traveled pretty extensively. I feel bad because we haven't made it to the continent yet. And it is so much on our list of where we want to go. But we spent time in Southeast Asia, spent time in Europe, South America, Central America. And we looked around and said, hey, we want to do that for ourselves. We want to do that for our children. So that's kind of our focus. We kind of stay a little more, if you want to say on the lighter side of it, we try to stay on the lighter side because when we start thinking about some of these other things, we feel like we kind of get a little bogged down, and we got to kind of keep up a good front. And the other side of it is, I know the history, the history. Our children need to be taught the history, but our children also, in my opinion, don't need our history and our drama and our trash and our grandparents' trash thrown too heavily on their future, weighing down the future of the world.
I've been saying this.
Kind of the thought.
I've been telling people this all the time. It's like, why put all that burden on them too? So they have to fight and they have to deplete their own mental and spiritual resources on battling through. Oh, you need to work twice as hard in order to do this A, B, C. No, just no. I won't do that either. So I totally understand. There is no reason to put that on your children. So I totally understand. And the beauty of England as well. I know a lot of people are telling me that I'm talking a lot. I'm sorry, guys. I'm sorry, but this is nice for me. There is something really nice about walking down the road and you see 3 school kids walking to school, and one of them is Polish, one of them is Somali, and the other one is from Ghana, and they're all speaking like this, and then they all have that same accent. There is a beauty in that. You rarely see that anywhere else. Maybe in France, in some of the countries where there is where you have a rich city and you have a colonial past, you'll have a mixing pot like that. But there's a beauty in it. And when I lived in New York, by the way, I could not get to grips with how segregated that city was. I never experienced it until I went there. I lived in the Bronx and the South Bronx for a while. I didn't see any white people all summer, and I didn't see one white person for at least 3 months whilst I was working at this place. And I remember a white guy walking past the shop, and I was like, "Oh my gosh!" I opened the door to the shop. I had to take a look. I was like, "Wow!" So what? It was crazy, absolutely crazy. The only time you'd see a white guy is when there were two of them driving a police car. 2 of them in a police car. That was the only time. It's the most segregated, and I wasn't comfortable with that. Absolutely was not comfortable with that, and I'm really happy now because your kids are going to be able to experience that sort of diverse, not just diverse, but that sort of integrated sort of community spirit. It's maybe slightly in a more, actually it's more diverse now than when I was a kid, certainly. So your kids I have a feeling your kids are going to love it. They really will.
Yeah, they seem to have really. You agree?
Yeah, I think they're doing really well, learning and adapting to the new area, the new school. They've done an excellent job.
Mm-hmm. You chose not to live in London. Was that a financial move?
That is more of a London is like Washington, D.C., major metropolitan, and that's just kind of what we were trying to get away from. We were warned that if we were, to go to London, that it would be very similar to that DC, Washington DC type element, as far as like just major city, London, DC, Paris, Tokyo, like these places, there are a lot of people packed in there, and we wanted something a little slower for us and for our kids to have a broader experience. We wanted something a little bit slower, a little slower pace than that.
Mm-hmm. We have another person asking about the logistics of relocating from the US to England. Was it a difficult move? Not just physically, but spiritually and everything else. How easy was it?
It was not easy. It was not easy.
It was
Go ahead.
It was a lot. It was a lot. I definitely had a lot of lists, a lot of paperwork that I had to make sure I had completed, that I had completed correctly, that we paid all the fees. And that was just making sure we were getting the proper visas. Then with the house and making sure because we had to downsize, we had to figure out, okay, what are we going to keep? What are we going to get rid of? Where does this need to go? We had to figure out all of that. It was a lot, and we definitely have to be organized and very aware of everything that you wanted and needed, and to keep us on track to reach our deadlines.
I agree. So Blair, my wife here is Blair, and she's much more detail focused and oriented than myself. I credit her with getting the family through the move. She kept up with all the lists. She kept up with all the visa requirements. She kept up with all the biometric requirements. Unfortunately for us, when we were trying to do our move, it was in the height of a COVID lockdown in the US and in the UK. So you had to get your biometrics done, where you take your fingerprints and all of that. And all of those sites were closed in the US. And we ended up actually having to drive, I think it was about 1,500 miles to get to a site that was open to get our fingerprints done for our family, and then drive back. That was the only option we had. And we had to drive instead of fly, because we didn't know on what day they would do the test. So we couldn't book a flight with open dates. So we drove down. It was quite a chore from a logistical standpoint. From the spiritual side, I think it was harder, but we talked about this move for a couple of years. We walk at night. It's kind of weird. We like to walk at night in the dark, and we walk and we talk. And so when we're walking and we're talking, and we did this for like a couple of years, we're walking and we're talking, and we're just kind of talking about different opportunities, different things, different directions we wanted to go in. And so when it came time to do it, we were ready. We kind of talked ourselves into being ready, but it still was hard to leave family and friends, go to the other side of the world, to a country that you've only been to visit once or twice, and now saying, I want to live here.
I can understand.
That's a challenge. I would say anyone who wants to do it, you have to kind of steady yourself and be ready for a great world of difference.
I've got a question for Blair, actually. Meditation with Music has written a question. Could you please ask the wife a question? Being from the UK, I am not used to women not talking, and would like to hear her experience as a woman. So is your experience as, which is nice. I like the fact that they didn't say a black woman, because your experience as a woman moving to the UK, is there nuances, is there differences between the United States and the UK?
Not really that I could tell you quickly. The major differences I've had to figure out is like where to get my hair done, or where can I buy hair products. That's probably been the biggest change or difference as a woman, but that's something I'm used to having to navigate anyway, of where do I go get my hair done. So
Yeah, yeah. That's nice. So, I've heard from American women who actually have gone to London who say that people are much more um, there's more chivalry type things going on. You know, people will wait for you to get onto a bus, wait for you to get men will wait for you to get onto a train. You know, they'll do things like that. I've heard this from American women. I haven't experienced it. I haven't seen it. Actually, I have seen it myself. Um, yeah, I have seen it myself. That they in the UK we sort of treat wo- women with that. It's still there. I don't know whether it's one of those old school things, but we like opening the doors for our women and doing that type of thing. Um, um, certainly, there's a lot of those things that which have been taught to us as being been growing up, you know, by British society. But yeah, I can't answer this question for you guys. I cannot answer it myself. I was brought up in the UK, but I treat women like
Yeah.
they are special, right?
I mean, yeah, again, I have not had any bad or negative experiences thus far with the UK. So, yeah, most people are very respectful of you and your space, and offering help if they can, and um, it's been pretty good. I don't have any complaints about it. But like MacArthur said, we're from the South, so that's very common in the US to have somebody even hold a door for you um, or offer up a seat on a subway or something. That's very it's very similar.
Yeah, yeah. And you guys, I mean, uh, you Blair, you are you from down south as well? You from the south?
I am from the Carolinas.
Okay, so um, clearly there is differences between societal norms in the deep south and in the UK. And the irony is that most of the people, certainly from the Carolinas, most of the Europeans there were mostly from the British Isles. And I'm not sure if you're aware of that. So it's just weird to see these people. It's weird to see that there is significant differences. What is the main difference? I'm going to ask you this: what is the main difference between the people? I'm trying to steer away from anything heavy at this present moment, but between the Europeans, the European Americans, and the Europeans in Europe, what would you say is the main difference that you see?
Um, so far, I haven't done very much in Europe yet. But what I can see so far is that the UK is friendlier. Um, they're friendlier. They're more helpful. Just generally more social as well. Um,
Hmm.
so it's
Have
it's
you?
much easier to strike up a conversation with a stranger.
Yeah, yeah. Have you guys been to Paris yet?
Hmm. Lockdown.
Oh
No.
wow,
No.
you've got something in store for you there. It's okay. So I made a video not long back actually because I was in Paris and just to let you know, go to Chateau Rouge. Chateau Rouge is the district where there is a lot of um, it's. I mean, you could go to see the sights. Go to the Eiffel Tower. Go to Notre Dame. Go to those places. But if you want to see real Paris, the Chateau Rouge district is the nicest part to go to get the real taste of Paris, because what you will find when the first time you go to Paris is how rude people are, and and they don't really mind being like this. Everybody knows that they're rude as well. Even they know that they are rude. Even actually, this is going to sound weird. Even the French people from other parts of France, do not like people in Paris. It's because of how it's because of this. I don't know where they get it from. It's just this. So yeah. Anyway, that's a word of warning before you go there. But I'm guessing you're going to be traveling around Europe at some point.
Yeah, we definitely plan to. Hopefully next year, we can get an opportunity to travel quite a bit more. Because of lockdowns and everything. That's why we were predominantly just moving around, England and up into Scotland. But hopefully next year, as things continue to open up and like COVID restrictions slowly start to drop down, we can get opportunity to travel over into Europe. That is something that we really looking forward to.
You traveled to Scotland, didn't you?
Yes.
And how did you find that?
I was surprised. I liked it. I was, I've seen a lot of pictures of what Scotland looked like, and I realize now that those pictures are 99% from just the Scottish Highlands, and we were in Edinburgh, which is not in the Highlands. So
Yeah.
it was not what I expected. So we did travel up into the Highlands a little bit, but what I honestly can say, I've been surprised at how friendly people have actually been towards us. I want to be just, pretty blunt here. Over the last few years in the US, there's been a lot of tension between blacks and whites. And that just being honest, there's been a lot of tension. People haven't been friendly. People haven't been as nice. And it's kind of like everyone's kind of is separating off into their own little groups really hard, and you stay with your group. I hate to say it, but it just seems to be that way. And so we get over to England, and people are speaking and they're being really friendly, and I'm a little unused to that. I'm a pretty big black guy, so I'm used to people not actually speaking to me, just being honest. And so then I've seen people speaking like, "Hi." We get up to Scotland, people are speaking, "Hey, how you doing?" And it was like, "Hi." And so that has kind of been something to actually get reused to people being courteous, people being nice, people being just kind of just friendly without having a cause to be friendly. And so that is actually
exactly.
we experienced that in Scotland, I believe, as well.
Yeah, Scotland is very different, I think, to the rest of the UK. You spoke in your video, in one of your videos that you just made, about how the English in England is different than the English in America, and how you need to be ready to talk, to be able to relearn English in a way. How did you find it in Scotland? Because I don't understand people in Scotland. I honestly, I have no idea. It's crazy. The first time I went to Scotland, I went on a bus. I got on a bus, and the guy, I asked him how much, and the guy said, "Blah, blah, 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 blah," like that. And I looked at him blank. Like, I just looked at him blank, and he said something like, £1.50, please. Just put it in. I didn't say anything to him. It's completely different. How did you get on up there?
I didn't have a problem with it, but there was one point we were standing in line. We were in Glasgow, and there was a Scottish father, and he was talking to his daughter, and she was kind of stepped away from him. And he said something to her with a very harsh Scottish accent. And she looked at him and she was like, "Huh?" And he said it again. And, she stood there like, "Huh?" And then he said it, "Could you go over there and sit down?" And I was like, well, their own kids can't understand the accent. And so that was I thought that was pretty funny. That wasn't my experience, but I kind of saw that. I haven't had a problem, maybe because the people we were talking to were mostly in Edinburgh and in Glasgow, and just more of an urban, maybe we got up into the Highlands with the Isle of Skye and some other locations. Maybe we'd run into like a harder Scottish accent, but I didn't have didn't have much problem with it. And then, I studied French for many years. I studied Japanese for quite a while. So, maybe my ears are a little more attuned to listening to things. So it just doesn't seem to bother me as much. But I didn't notice that much.
You studied Japanese. I think I heard your wife say something about Korean. Is it? Maybe it's not your wife, actually. Maybe it was another somebody else. Nothing about what's that Korean dance called? No, it was somebody else.
No,
Forget it. It was somebody else. It was somebody else. But you're talking about Japan. Do you watch Black in Japan, that YouTube
Yeah.
channel?
Yes. Yes.
Yeah, he seems to be
Well, yeah,
really into
so
himself.
I think it's the Black
Black
experience.
experience, yeah.
Yeah, the Black experience. I've been watching him for years. I've been looking
Oh,
at the years. I've been looking at him because I had a strong interest in like Japanese culture and things of that sort. So I have friends that I went to school with who are half Black, half Japanese, and so
ah,
I kind of kept up with that. But yeah, I was always been interested in that Southeast Asian region, and so yes.
mm-hmm.
I
Oh, okay.
watched him. I feel like I have learned so much about the world from YouTubers. Vice.
Ah,
This is just individual people who go out and they see something and they try to tell a story, and it's not going through all these layers of bureaucracy of, well, we can't say this could be insulting, we can't say that. And so we just kind of, I feel like the YouTubers in some cases, in some instances, are giving you a much more open and raw experience of what people are dealing with. And so I've kind of been inspired by like a lot of other YouTubers who are out there just kind of telling their truths. So I feel like I've learned a lot from that.
yeah. And I mean, you said you haven't made it to the African continent yet. And clearly, you've only just moved to Europe, so it's not on your radar now. But would you ever reconsider Africa, maybe in the distant future? Maybe, I don't know.
Well, I'll say this: we don't want to go into details at this stage, but Larry just applied to 3 more jobs in Africa, so we don't want to go into details. but
Oh, I didn't. I had no idea.
yeah, we're still interested in that. And even before we get that opportunity, if we get that opportunity, we definitely would love to get the opportunity to visit. We have a short list of places that we really want to go, different nations we want to go and visit, like locations. Of course, Ghana, Tanzania, Namibia, and not just because of Walter Meyer recently went there and did some great video work, but I love the Skeleton Coast where you have the dunes that run into the ocean. I've been wanting to
Oh,
get down there for a while. I just think that is so
oh.
beautiful.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. Yeah, I have dreams of going there, literal dreams, where I'm driving on that beach and there's no one there. It's
Right.
absolutely empty. And sometimes the lions go on that beach. Do you know that? Have you seen that?
No, I
The
haven't seen that.
lions go on the. That's what I've seen the lions go onto the beach. I mean, clearly you can't just go out there and start sunbathing and stuff. But that, for me, that whole country with only 2.5 million people in it, it's definitely a place. Oh, we've got somebody who's saying Botswana. Yeah, of course, that's also another beautiful country that
Yes.
you shouldn't miss. And I mean, I think a lot of the South African countries are beautiful. But what about Ghana? I mean, everybody else who's going to Ghana, has that not sort of taken a
Yeah,
fancy?
yeah, we were really upset when we found out about the year of the return. And what I mean by that is, so this is just my experience, but we didn't see it publicized on US news until like the end of the year. It was the end of the year return, and then they put it on the news, and that's kind of where we found out about it. And then we saw that everyone else that went, and we felt like we kind of been left out because we didn't know about it. Yes, Ghana is absolutely on that list of places to visit, but when we just kind of do our short list, it's definitely on the list. We've seen some things there, but
Mm-hmm.
yeah, Tanzania looks beautiful. Namibia looks beautiful. A few other places that we just really want to visit. Really, there are 54 nations. I think we could find something beautiful to see and experience in any one of them. Just we could
Yeah.
enjoy spending time in just about any of those countries.
Mm-hmm. And, and let me just ask. I don't want to keep you much longer because I understand you got the kids and all that there. But let me just ask you this: and your favorite African repat YouTubers? Give me your top 3. Not just African, but African American. Yeah,
Yeah.
doesn't
So
matter.
what am I number one?
Yeah.
Oh, the Nigerian, oh,
Mike
the Nigerian guy. Oh,
Teo.
Is it Teo?
Yeah.
Tao?
Tanik. Tano.
Hey,
Oh,
no. Yeah, 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 yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
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 Yeah, I
Him,
know him.
and I would probably say, uh, Go Black to Africa tied with T3 and Me.
I do like T3.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, 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 yeah. Nice, nice. Okay, that's a nice top three. But I'm not in it, so I'm not going to give too much props.
I'm not, I'm not sure exactly where you're physically located.
That's true. That's very true. Guys, I'm not going to keep you for much longer, but I just wanted to say thank you for coming on and talking to us and giving us that inside scoop uh, into life in the UK. And I'm going to post your link in the description if it's not there already. No, I'm going to post the link in the description after this, so you guys can join if you want to follow their journey throughout the UK and follow their you know whatever they're going to do in the future. You
Yeah.
guys can keep an eye on their YouTube channel. What is it? Is it 9 before
9
Nine,
before M the
nine before
family.
M, the family.
9 before M the family? But I will post the link in the description so you guys can follow as and when if you can. All right.
Yeah.
Thank you very
Yeah.
much. Okay,
Thank
so
you.
guys, thank you very much for joining me. Thank you very much. It's well appreciated, and I'm guessing we will talk at some point in the near future again. Thank you
No,
very much.
thank you for reaching out to us.
Thank
That's
you.
no problem. And enjoy your time. You're in the States now, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
we're visiting family, be here for a couple of weeks, and then back to England.
Fantastic. Then I will speak to you and enjoy the rest of your time in the States, and I'll speak to you at some point in the near future. Take care.
All right. All right. Take care. Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you. So, guys, that was nice. That was really nice. It was nice to speak to them. Yeah, I, I, I know a lot of you guys were probably thinking that I was going to start, you know, bugging out. Yeah, England's great. England's this. England's that, and it's not. Of course, it isn't. It isn't. But it does have its good side. There is a lot about the UK that I love. I'm not even living in a place now that would even touch it, and I'm being honest with you. Most other European countries wouldn't touch it. But you heard him speak about Namibia, these other countries in Africa as well. Sure, man, guys, man, there's so many. We keep talking about Ghana, Gambia, Ghana, Gambia, Ghana. No one's talking about Namibia. No one's talking about. Some people are going to go to Tanzania, but a lot of people are leaving Tanzania now because they just can't take the fact that, hey, they went to Tanzania believing that we're black people, so we're going to be accepted as black people, just like the black people who live in Tanzania. And they do not remember, they do not understand that they're not all the same. There is no such race as the black race, right? There are many different, thousands of different ethnicities, thousands of different languages, tongues, and people and races on the African continent. So when you got Goody, ran away to Switzerland. Thank you very much. Okay, I'm not stopping here. I'm going to stop regardless. So anyway, what am I saying? So guys, keep your eyes peeled, keep your eyes open. Don't be bogged down, not just in these countries, the Gambia and Ghana. Look, there are 54 other countries on the African continent, and one of these countries, or it may be even more than one of these countries, are going to suit you, perhaps even better than Ghana would. You know, you can't just. A lot of people are moving to Ghana simply because there are a lot of other African Americans. There's a large African American repat community there. And I would say I'm not even sure whether that's the best thing to do. For some people, it will be. For others, it would be better to get out there, live life raw, you know, sink your teeth into a culture which you don't understand and learn it and embrace it. You know, think about Zambia, think about Botswana, think about Swaziland, think about, you know, these other countries, which, you know, Cameroon, and these are the countries that people don't even think about. It's yeah, there is a lot out there in the world to explore. And guys, also, like I said, if you want to sort of, you know, test the waters of how it's like to move abroad, Europe is a great place to go. The people are great. You know, they'll accept you because of who you are. They'll accept many of you and enjoy who you are, and accept you in a way in which they wouldn't accept most other people, really. So you can get away with a lot here, and you can enjoy it, really enjoy the experience. And like I said, a lot of African Americans have made the move, and they've used their privilege. I know, like, oh, we don't have privilege. Yes, you do. And if you don't see it, then what can I say? You as African Americans have this. You know, you've been touted all around the world on TV and everything as being this great people. So use that. People think you're great. Use it. I love the fact that I'm Jamaican. I love it. Love it. You know, and as and when I get to the African continent, it is going to be a massive benefit to me. Massive benefit. So guys, I wanted to keep this nice and short. Let's have a look. 1 hour, 15 minutes. I'm very happy with this. Who keeps talking about punani? Who keeps talking about that? Why are we talking about cleaning and that? Well, anyway, so I'm not even going to read your comments anymore. Guys, I want to thank you guys for listening in. Thank you for coming. Thank you for subscribing. Guys, I posted another 2 videos 2 days ago. It was yesterday. Was it yesterday? It was yesterday. No, it was 2 days ago. About on the Oversight YouTube channel. Go to the Oversight YouTube channel. The link is in the description. And please follow the 9 Before M family as well. They're really good. And they are the flag bearers. These are the real flag bearers. You could see that family, right? Educated in IT. Okay, these guys are, you know, they are the anti-bags. This is, when I think about African Americans, I think about a family like that. People who have their heads screwed on, intelligent, beautiful inside and out, beautiful children. You should see their kids. The epitome of perfection, really. When it comes to having a family, that is what you were looking for. And they are the flag bearers, and they proudly should be the flag bearers of the African American ethnicity. So guys, thank you anyway. Thank you for coming. Thank you for watching. I'm going to leave, and I'm going to because it's late. So thank you guys, and I will see you in the next one, guys. Thank you. Yeah, I know they are being unbelievably immature. How dare they? I think it's just one person talking to themselves there. Yeah, anyway, good night, guys. Ta-ra a bit. Ta-ra a bit.